Hey guys, welcome to Zone's Little Hobbies, and in today's video we are going to talk about Star Wars The Clone Wars. Specifically for those who don't know Star Wars The Clone Wars, never watched the show. There's a lot of new, young Star Wars fans who never really got to watch the Clone Wars show. So Star Wars The Clone Wars is a cartoon made by George Lucas. It wasn't just made by Lucasfilm, it was indeed made by George Lucas. Now, with that said, it's not like every single little idea in Star Wars The Clone Wars ever came from George Lucas. No. I would say almost all of the big Star Wars storyline decisions when it came to the Clone Wars had to go through George Lucas before they ever started production. I know George Lucas at the time was indeed paying to create Star Wars The Clone Wars, so it just makes sense that he wanted to know what they were doing with his money. But let's face it, Star Wars The Clone Wars really comes from the brilliant mind of Dave Filoni. I believe I was in 5th grade. I was 11 at the time, and what surprises me the most about the show is that this is actually a PG rating. Really, considering that I've seen the show and I know how dark it gets, I would argue for a PG-13. Honestly, it's kind of a dark show, and it has a really, really good amount of violence. Even so, it's not gory or bloody or anything like that. It's just, in fact, the way they dealt with the violence was perfect, because it wasn't too much, it wasn't to the point where, or give anyone any real nightmares, but it did teach kids the morals of loss, of death, and of violence in a very creative way without taking it way too far. It also taught kids the corruption of not only society but politics and the ramifications of what that meant on the society of the world of Star Wars. And that's a really interesting lesson to teach to little kids. And it's been a decade. What makes this show great is not only the morals and the lessons that it shows, but also the connection it has with the Star Wars world. What Star Wars The Clone Wars was able to do for not only the franchise of Star Wars, but the prequels in particular, was very, very important. Originally, Star Wars The Clone Wars was a little, just a couple few words from Episode 4. But he mentions the Clone Wars. He asked Obi-Wan if he fought in the Clone Wars, and Obi-Wan says, yeah. And from there, we've had a mystery of what the Clone Wars was going to be. It really, really did. It spanned not only the lore, but story and character arcs of all the characters in Star Wars, the prequels. So let's take one, I have quite a few examples to go through here, but let's take one big example. Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, he's a beloved character. Let's face it, he really is. He's a wise old master from Episode 4, and we know that he taught a student, and it all went wrong. We didn't know what that past was. We only got a slight bit of dialogue in Episode 4, and that made us all wonder what the heck storyline. Then we get the prequels. In Episode 1, Obi-Wan is a Padawan about to become a brand new Jedi Knight. It's nothing against Ewan McGregor, but and it's actually a really good thing, but he doesn't while he seems spunky and brand new to the whole idea, he doesn't seem wise and mentor-like. He honestly seems like a kid, which I like because at that point he really was. And then in the second movie, we don't get to see him try to be a teacher. We jump ahead to the point where he already is a teacher. He's already having trouble with his Padawan, but apparently they have some sort of relationship where they do respect each other. But, and this is just me, watching that movie, I saw none of it. That has nothing to do with how the story was written, or the actors, or the acting, or nothing. It's just the fact that that movie, where it took place, at the time it took place, we really didn't get to know any of these characters. Not in episode 2. And then in episode 3, we jump all the way to the very end of their relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and, of course, Anakin Skywalker. And we're told, and showed just a slight bit, but mostly told, that those two apparently are like brothers. But we never got that. We got to see the end of their relationship, and we got to see how it broke. But we never got to see how the relationship grew, how the relationship was dealt with, and how they basically became brothers. And then Star Wars The Clone Wars comes out, and it fixes that for me. Because that's an issue I have with the prequels. I grew up on the prequels. I love the prequels. I'm not saying the prequels are the best, but hey, they're good films. They're Star Wars films, for crying out loud. Of course they're good films. But that is a criticism that I've always had with the movies, and Star Wars The Clone Wars fixed that by showing me the relationship between Kenobi and Skywalker. I don't know really how to say this, but the way they act, the way they play off of one another, they honestly feel like brothers when you watch Star Wars The Clone Wars, especially in Star Wars The Clone Wars. The way they act in the third movie, but because we never seen it, because we're supposed to just go in knowing they have this relationship, but never seen it, it feels like we never really got to know these characters. It adds so much to that. It not only adds on their relationship, but it adds on Obi-Wan Kenobi's character, giving him an arc where at the end he's basically able to perhaps understand what Skywalker might go through in the future with Padme. It brings so much more emotion to the third film when you realize that he probably knows what Anakin has gone through, and the fact that he just can't help him in this situation really hurts, and just adds that much more emotion to it. And not only that, but we also get to see Anakin's character grow. I mean, all we get from Anakin in the prequels is a little boy, grows up to be a Jedi Knight, tries his best, but he has a bit of an anger issue. Reasonable, he's a kid. And then we jump ahead all the way to the end, where he goes just completely dark side. But we never get to see him as the character, as a hero, which he's supposed to be. And that's disappointing to us. Star Wars The Clone Wars, we get to see that. We get to see Anakin Skywalker be the hero that he's meant to be. It's because of what happened in Star Wars The Clone Wars that I end up loving Hayden Christensen that much more, playing the darker side of Anakin Skywalker. It's not just the heroes that they did this with. They also did this with the villains. Especially the villains. Okay, so Count Dooku is nothing against the actor, but I absolutely despise this character in the second movie. He is such a one-dimensional villain of the week kind of bad guy in the second movie, and I just despise everything about Count Dooku in the second movie. And the third. In the third, it's even worse. Because he dies in the very beginning. We get nothing from the character Count Dooku in the third movie. We get to actually see his dastardly deeds. We get to know him. We get to know the history he has with Anakin and Obi-Wan. And the way he just plays off of them, the way they all play off of each other, it just fits. Then we got a character named Asajj Ventress. And Asajj Ventress, when I first met her, even when I first saw Star Wars Bad Guy of the Week kind of feel, I would never have thought that they would take that character the way that they did. And they really did take that character in a very interesting way. Asajj Ventress actually became one of my favorite characters. And then, how about Darth Maul? Darth Maul! Oh my god, Darth Maul from the first movie, he looks really awesome, and I love his lightsaber. But god dang, he dies in the first movie. I think he only has one line in the entire movie, and that's it. It's really disappointing. So when they brought him back in Star Wars The Clone Wars and actually gave him a character, oh my god, I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. It was amazing. It made me realize that he's an awesome character. Boba Fett, a character from classic Star Wars, the original trilogy, right? Every time I saw Boba Fett on screen, I thought of Jabba the Hutt. For me, Darth Vader and Jabba the Hutt were the only real threats to me. And of course there's Palpatine, but I never looked at Boba Fett as the end game, I guess. And then we get his somewhat backstory in the... Look, in Attack of the Clones, we learn that he's actually the son/clone of Jango Fett, his father, and Jango Fett dies in the second movie, which makes him, again, feel like a one-dimensional, one-off character. And we get that little shot of Boba Fett picking up the helmet, and I feel sorry for the kid that he lost his dad, but having no connection to the character, I don't know, it didn't hit me well. But then, what they do with Boba Fett in the TV show Star Wars The Clone Wars, and I could go on and on and on. I love the villains in the show. You got Cad Bane, you got Hondo, who is a pirate. Cad Bane's a brilliant character too. Hondo is a pirate in space. It's like having Captain Jack in Star Wars. But the best character of them all is without a doubt Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka Tano from the first movie, I understand why a lot of people did not like her from the first movie. With the context that this was supposed to be 3 episodes of the first show, I could see why they went with the character that way. I thought of it as like to right away, and here's why. Because she was a brand new character. Sure, she was spunky and kind of weird. The way she acted was kind of childish, but hey, she was a kid in a war, and I couldn't wait to see her grow up, and we got to see that. That's why I love Ahsoka Tano. That's why she's one of my favorite characters, because we actually got to see how she developed. So it was an absolute letdown when Disney bought Star Wars and did not continue the show. They had enough content alone to make at least 2 more seasons of the show. And I didn't even talk about what they did with the clones. The clones in the movie, they were clones. One-dimensional clones. The clones, what they did with the clones' characters in the TV show, giving them character, giving them not just one character, but each individual a character. Oh, it was just brilliant. But I heard Dave Filoni was not fired. I heard he started up a new project called Star Wars Rebels. I watched Star Wars Rebels, and we got some answers in Star Wars Rebels to what happened with Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Some of our favorite characters came back: Hondo, of course, Ahsoka Tano, Darth Maul. We got to see Darth Vader. Wow. With that said, the thing I don't like about Disney Star Wars versus what we had before, the humor wasn't right and the way they did the show wasn't right. To me, as much as I love Star Wars Rebels, and I really, really do, Star Wars The Clone Wars, it had a timeless feel. It had lessons to teach. It really went in depth with its characters. And it only had 6 seasons. It was a war unfinished. Until now. Until now. I never thought this was going to happen. But they announced that Star Wars The Clone Wars will return. We got some books here and there on how it ended. We got several comics on Darth Maul. We got a book on Ventress. We got a book on Ahsoka, and a couple other things that tied into Star Wars: The Clone Wars. But I never thought, while I hoped in my heart, I never thought he would have the chance to finish what he started. Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 7, will be on Disney's new streaming service in 2019. Make sure, if you have not seen Star Wars: The Clone Wars yet, to go and watch it now. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. It's not just a little kids show either. It actually has some real good depth. And to me, what Star Wars: The Clone Wars is in a simple word: childhood. And I just can't wait to see it finished. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe for more. And I'm out. Oh my god! Star Wars: The Clone Wars is back!